Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvelous Movie Mondays. I hope you're enjoying your Monday. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dylan Randazzo.
And I'm Kelsey Kilpatrick.
Right? This is our first podcast, so we might run into some bumps along the road, but we're gonna just bear with it. We're gonna keep plowing on, keep plowing through. We both got our Marvel-fied sets behind us. What we're gonna do first, though, is tell you a little bit about ourselves. So, Kelsey, why don't you begin sharing a little bit about yourself and anything Marvel related in your life that has changed you?
Sure. So I got into Marvel, I'm sure, later than you did, Dill. I feel like
Yeah.
I got on the train. Yeah, I know. I feel like I got on the Marvel train a little later in life. My first movie was Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014.
Hey, if
As
there's a
a
if
teen.
there's a first movie to introduce you to the franchise, I mean, Guardians is it.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. I just thought it was everything I wanted in a movie. I laughed, I cried. There was great action sequences. I fell in love with the characters. Obviously, there's a lot of Groots in my life. I have a lot of love for Groot. And from there on, everyone in my life, especially Dylan, told me you need to watch them. You need to go back to 2008 and watch them in order. And I did it and I fell in love. And I've since watched all 23 films at least twice, some
Wow.
of them many more times.
So
But
23 films. How many hours do you think that is? That's like
didn't they
two.
say that if you wanted to watch all of them before Endgame, it would take you like a day and a half or something?
I mean, I believe it. Like 36 hours for
'Cause
sure. Yeah.
some theaters were playing them like, straight through. And they were like, if you want to come to the theater, you're going to be there for a day and how long, however
Yeah. I mean,
long.
I've done
But
movie marathon. Oh, hold on. I was unmuted. I was muted for a little while on my back.
yeah.
My mic went out for a second. We're getting used to the equipment here. So Kelsey and I have been friends for longer than the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been around. Um, we
Yeah.
grew up doing shows together, doing plays and musicals. Theater was where we were introduced, and we just grew together closer with this Marvel hullabaloo and all this love for all the comics and movies and TV shows. And it's interesting because the first episode we're not even talking about movies. I mean, the Marvelous Movie Mondays is the title, but we are talking about um, the TV shows, which is going to be super interesting. Uh, WandaVision. We got the first two episodes yesterday. Actually, oh my god, my mic does not want to cooperate today. We got the first two episodes on Friday, not yesterday, Friday, because it's Monday, even though we're recording this before Monday. Uh, so, Kelsey, overall thoughts on WandaVision? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that even though we're kind of in like a lull period when it comes to the Marvel
Lol.
universe, I mean, we're so used to, multiple movies coming out a year. So now it definitely feels like a part of my life is missing now that, we've kind of had to take like the industry as a whole has had to take a break. Um, so I am happy and excited about the fact that we even have something to talk about for this Monday. It's exciting that they literally, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I'm just excited that we have, they are giving us these little TV shows like WandaVision, Loki, Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So lots of good stuff coming Marvel wise.
Yeah, it's
But
like when you go to a party and you're starving and you're waiting to just like eat at the buffet, but it's not time for dinner. But they still have the hors d'oeuvres, and then the hors d'oeuvres end up being the best part of the meal. You're like, oh, those mini quiches are what I'm gonna remember at the end of the day. It's not gonna be the chicken parmesan. It's gonna be the mini quiches.
yeah, Dill couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed WandaVision. I definitely watched them two times. I was definitely more the first time it was just to watch, for the story, what was going to happen. And the second watch through was me analyzing each frame, trying to, pick up on any hints about where their arcs are going to go, what's happening. I really hope that you have some theories because I have little to no idea what is going on in
And
one.
I think that's part of the beauty of WandaVision, I think, is that there are so many theories you could make, but we
Yeah,
really have no idea where this is going, at least I don't. I have a list of Easter eggs that we will get into later. Once we're done kinda, like, just going beat by beat, recapping the episode, I
yeah.
do have a ton of Easter eggs just of different things that happened, um, to take note on, just little tiny little tidbits. My audio is killing me. But tiny little tidbits just that I picked up on just from other movies or just different things in the comics that I researched afterward. There's just so much in this 1 hour of television. It wasn't even an hour. I think 9 minutes of each episode were credits,
Yeah.
um, which is crazy. But yeah, you see so many little things that you pick up along the way. If you're looking at it at a surface value, I think you really miss a lot. But if you really dig deep, there is so much to uncover with just these 2 episodes.
So much to unpack already, and I I just know that with each episode, they're gonna give us like a few more breadcrumbs along the way, and I'm hungry for them. I'm hungry
Right.
for the breadcrumbs. I
Right.
need them because right now I'm confused. I love the 2 episodes, but I'm as confused as ever, I
Right.
think.
So let's start at the beginning. So let's start. We were introduced to Wanda and Vision in this black and white television. I think it's 60s, 50s style, 50s,
I was
60s.
definitely getting like an I Love Lucy vibe from
Yes.
the set and the costuming and just the way that it was shot.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
actually read an article and found out that they did shoot in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, that was real.
I totally thought that it was a laugh track. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it stayed a live studio audience since they did pause filming for the pandemic, but yeah, they Paul
Uh,
Bettany and
Cole
Elizabeth
Bettany
Olsen,
if you're in a British accent, but
they said in an interview that they, were so excited about shooting in front of a live studio audience. So I was like,
yeah.
wow, that's wh-
Yeah.
how
Because
funny.
because when you're filming the movies, I mean, you're filming in front of this giant green screen. I mean, you literally do not have anything to play off of. You don't even have an outdoor environment to like feel the air and the wind. It's all artificial. It's
No,
it's
yeah,
green screen.
totally.
But to us as the viewers, it seems like they're really on these planets and in these areas. So it's really interesting to get that live effect and to feel the energy in the room. And I think they were really playing off of it. I think the first thing that I noticed first and foremost was just how funny Paul Bettany really is. I think Vision as a character, you don't get a lot of comedy from him. There were some dry moments that he had in Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War that were funny because he's such a dry human, but he was playing it up. He was goofy, so much physical comedy, especially in that second episode with that magic show, with the gum stuck in his cogs. I mean, that was I think this is the most fun.
Oh, is this when I'm supposed to be vamping? Okay. Yeah, I think the beauty about Vision's character is that the comedy for him in the movies derives from the dynamic. I was vamping. I wasn't sure if you
No,
wanted me
that's
to
fine.
keep
Please,
talking.
please vamp. We're gonna try not to cut the show. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. If that ever happens, just keep going. We're just gonna try to keep it as free and open and continuous as we can. If we have to cut it, we will. I don't think we will. You
Okay,
can.
well, I did stop talking and go, "Oh, is this when I'm supposed to be vamping?"
It's
I
gonna be
did
very
audibly say that.
okay.
But what I was saying while you were away, I don't know if you could hear me while I was vamping, was I think the beauty about where the comedy comes with Vision in the movies is just the dynamic between him being a full-on computer program versus all the humans that he has to interact with, and how he's just, especially in like Age of Ultron, because I was a psycho and I did watch the 2 episodes and then go back to watch Age of Ultron and Civil War because wanted to see where we had left off with their relationship and now where we are with them now. And it's I think it's funny that sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, like I was saying, I think the comedy comes from him being just, a complete contrast to the actors around him. Whereas in WandaVision, I agree with you that he was definitely like playing it up and finding, this different side of Vision that we weren't able to get in the movies.
Yes, I agree. I thought it was interesting also just the simple concept of not being able to eat food. I mean, it's something you don't really think about, but then you have a whole episode centered around a dinner scene, and then the next episode you have the whole just chewing gum, and
Yeah.
how that can be played into physical comedy because you really don't get a lot of Marvel movies where it's a straight up comedy. You know, there are comedic bits throughout. Even Guardians of the Galaxy, there's some deeper stuff in there with Peter's mom, and there's some deeper stuff with the action. It's a lot more action focused sometimes, but this was straight comedy all the way through, and it even got a little bit horror, which I appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah.
The scene where Vision's boss is choking, I think that was one of the most effective moments. That really was like, hey, we're doing a straight comedy, but we're also gonna give you a little horror, give you a little bit of a scare, and it's like these are two major things that we haven't ever based one Marvel movie on was just strict comedy or horror, and they're doing kind of both, which is very interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love how if you look at it, the description of it, it's like you can't fit it in one box. It was like comedy, mystery, romance, like all the different genres that you could put it in. And honestly, like that was the most intriguing scene to me and things like that. And I don't want to jump ahead, but
Yeah.
that it also reminded me of in episode 2 with the radio moment and the scene where she's talking to Dottie and she cuts her hand. It's like you have these moments of like it's almost like we're watching, it almost reminded me of Pleasantville almost,
Yes,
where you're
with your
watching
favorite with your
these
favorite actor,
very,
Tobey
like,
Maguire.
these surface right, oh my god, full circle here. You're watching these very surface level characters come face to face with real life moments where they're almost like, "I don't even know how to handle this because I've never like, everything in my box has just been so perfect, and I've always known what my pattern and what my rhythm was going to be, that now I'm interacting with these 2 characters that have completely thrown me off my rhythm," type of
Right.
thing, which I love the dynamic. Just the concept of these 2 super beings trying to fit in this very, like, domestic lifestyle is just comedy within itself. So,
No, I think we have to talk about how did they get here? Is this somewhere where they were put into this universe? Did they choose to be in this universe? Because as far as we know, Vision's dead, and Wanda is visionless, and they just defeated Thanos. Iron Man died. Spoiler alert. So we really don't know if Wanda's in a great place, but it seems like she's not necessarily in a great place if this does take place after Endgame. But then again, how is Vision there? Who are these other characters? Is this all made up in Wanda's head? I think there's a lot of different directions where my mind went during this. I want to get your take, Kelsey. What do you think?
no, yeah, 100%. Well, that's first and foremost, the first question I was asking was, where are we on the timeline? Are we post Endgame? Are we pre Endgame? Like,
I think
where
we're post Endgame. I think we're post Endgame. I
so
think
you think
that's
that
yeah.
Vision is dead and this might be some kind of world that Wanda has concocted for herself to just deal with his passing?
Right.
That
Yeah.
was a common theory that I saw. Once I delved through all of like the uh what are they called? Easter eggs and everything like that. I did look into like other articles to see what other people have found, and that was like the number one theory that people had was that this is just kind of like a simulation almost that she's
Yeah.
locked herself in to just, cope basically.
Right. Um, so let's kind of go through the events of the episode, what happens.
Yeah.
So we find out that Vision is having his boss over for dinner, but Wanda thinks it's an anniversary dinner because of the heart on the calendar.
Mhm.
That just provided for some great comedy, and then they have this dinner party. And of course, there's this neighbor played by Catherine Hahn. Do we remember her name off the top of our heads? Agnes. I
Agnes.
got it. I got it. It's in my notes. I found it. So we have Agnes. We don't know what Agnes's deal is. I'm not getting the greatest vibes from her. I think she's almost too right place, right time, where it's almost like, you know what, she knows something. That's my
Oh,
opinion. I
okay.
think she knows something because she's always showing up at the right place at the right time, always interfering, but helping purposefully, helping on a positive way. But I feel like there's some underlying thing with her. What's your take on Agnes and Catherine Hahn's performance?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I was just so in love with Catherine Hahn that I
Yeah.
didn't even like think further into it because I was just like, wow, this is perfect casting, like with
Mhm.
the whole, live studio audience, very like um that schmacky kind of vibe of the 1950s television shows, like very, it's very like hammy and very glamorous type. I was like, wow, this is like perfect casting. I wonder if like it made me wonder if the majority of the actors that they were considering for this had more stage backgrounds than film backgrounds. It made me think of that because I was just enjoying her performance. But now I understand what you're saying, where, she shows up with the rabbit in the second episode. She's there helping Wanda cook the dinner in the first episode. It made me, I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying. I also just love her ongoing joke of her talking badly about her husband.
Right.
I think his name is like, it begins with an R, Ralph, maybe.
Ralph, yeah, yeah. And we're not gonna see Ralph. That's my guess. I just don't think we're gonna see him. I
I
think
don't
it's gonna
think
be,
that
yeah, like
he's gonna
something
be.
that's referred to off camera.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have this dinner party. That kinda goes well. Then the guy starts choking, and that's when, his the boss's wife, played by, uh, Deborah Jo Rupp from That '70s Show,
Yes,
starts
another great cast
another great
right there.
casting,
Yeah,
starts staring not at her husband, but at Wanda. If you notice, she is staring directly at Wanda, and
yeah,
Wanda then turns to Vision and is like, "Vision, help him," or whatever.
yeah,
But I felt it was a little weird of having her, the wife, channeling all of that. I don't know what she was saying. I forget what she was saying in the moment, but channeling that toward Wanda. Did
yeah.
that strike you at all?
It was interesting that she just kept saying, "Stop it."
That was it. Stop
And
it. Yeah.
it
Thank
was
you.
almost as if, like, like I said before with, like, the Pleasantville thing where these characters are getting, like, small moments of, "Oh my gosh, I'm looking outside of the simulation." Almost like literally the perfect way to put it is, "Oh my god, the simulation is glitching right now."
Hmm.
And I quite literally think that in that moment, the simulation was glitching. So I think that it's interesting that you said that she was looking to Wanda because I think that she was actually just waiting for the moment to continue, the moment to pass. But since Wanda was so dumbstruck in that moment, that it wasn't because Wanda wasn't allowing it to, because it
Right.
might all be in her head. Who knows?
True. So we have that moment, and then magically, as soon as he's saved, it's great. You got the promotion, and they're out the door.
Yeah.
And I think that's all you see of that episode, right? You have the lobster, and oh wait, you have one last scene where it pans out, and there's a TV, and someone's watching. Someone's watching.
Yeah. Someone's keeping tabs on whatever is going on. And I don't know if you took note of this, but that circle and the sword symbol that's
Sword,
on the
yes.
notebook and on the screen, I think to the left of the TV that they're watching it on. I definitely did make a mental note of that. But a
Yes.
few.
So sword, what sword is in the comics, it's basically the shield version of space stuff. Space
Right.
counterterrorism. So shield covers the land, sword covers the monitors the space stuff. Basically, is what I've researched. As I'll say right now, me and Kelsey are not necessarily experts on all the comics, but we're such big fans that part of the fun of this is going to be trying to figure stuff out that other people who read the comics are going to be like, no, duh, it's this, it's that, but we're not going to know because we don't know the comics memorized in our brains, but that almost makes it more fun.
Yeah, no, I was definitely turning to like Marvel fandom wiki for some of these like little things. Like, I definitely looked there for August 23rd. I was like, "Oh, did anything happen in significance in the comics or anything on August 23rd?"
But
And
is anything significant or no?
well, I think a lot of people just think that the 23rd is just a nod to the 23 films that we had
Oh,
just
okay.
gotten. All maybe also further confirming that this is post Endgame because it was 23,
Hmm.
and then their house number is 2800,
Okay.
and that refers to Earth 2800. That's something
Wow.
in the comics. I don't think that's the Earth that the Avengers that we know are on. As far as I know, the Earth that the Avengers are on is 616. So I'm
Okay.
not sure what happens on Earth 2800, but that
Yeah.
was also just a nod to the comics.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, Endgame was such a big film that the only number that sticks in my head is 3000. I love you 3000. All the
no,
other
yeah,
numbers
for sure.
kind of go in one ear and out the other. So thank you for clarifying that, Kelsey. You're our numbers expert. So if we ever have a number Easter egg, you will be the one we call.
I will I'll have all the facts ready to go.
So I have a list of Easter eggs that we'll go through after we're done recapping the second episode. But let's talk about episode 2.
Sure.
Um, okay, so episode 2.
I'm sorry, before we go on to episode 2, there was just a few things that I caught on to. First of all, I've noticed Wanda doesn't have an accent.
No,
I don't.
she hasn't had one for a while though.
I mean, maybe I have to go back and watch her in Endgame, but
I mean, it goes from Age of Ultron. It's there, and
it's definitely
Captain
there. I mean,
Captain America: Civil War. It's going out a little bit, but
sure, it's definitely more subtle with each film. But I think that it was like almost completely gone. So I was wondering.
It's not there in this one for sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's like a conscious choice or if they were just like, no, don't do the accent.
I think it's more of a production actress choice rather than a story choice. I think it's literally just, what, the accent really wasn't working. It didn't need to be there.
Okay.
But that's just my take. I don't know personally.
Well, what I was going to go back and look at was in those small moments where Vision and Wanda are almost having like we're completely outside of the simulation where she looks at him at the dinner table and says, Vision, help him. I was wondering if like maybe it comes back in those moments and then she just doesn't have it when she's doing the Stepford Wives acting with all the other characters in the universe.
Yeah, I mean, if we've learned anything from Marvel, it's that they have an explanation for everything. Everything will be answered. So the accent, if it's just an actress choice, probably won't be. But if there is a purpose, we will find out. And I'd be excited to find out if that is a choice that they made over the past few movies to bring it back now and address. That'd be really interesting.
Also, another thing that I noticed with the accents was Vision has this great line where, at the beginning of the dinner, she's expecting just her husband for them to celebrate their anniversary. So she's all, dressed out in this glamorous dress. She comes up behind the boss and says, guess who? And he goes, I'm sorry, my wife is from Europe. And Vision is fully British. Like he is fully from Europe. And I just thought that was just
Jarvis had a British accent. I don't know if Vision himself is from Europe, but he has a European voice. I mean, like, if you set Siri to UK, she's gonna have a British voice. She might not be from Britain, but she is European.
Oh yeah, that's very fair. Jarvis is from a computer. He's not from any country. But
not from anywhere. But
it's like he's like, oh, my wife is from Europe, and I would be like, but aren't you?
Also? Yeah, exactly. And I'm surprised that that 70s show lady didn't really catch that. But so let's move on to episode 2. We will get to the commercials. I think in the critics screener they got both episodes, and both commercials happened back to back in the middle of both episodes, but we got one in each. So we got the first commercial was the Stark Industries toaster, which if you notice, that was the first bit of color we saw in the episode, was that little red light.
Right.
And the sound it made actually sounded just like Iron Man's suit when he's ready to shoot something out of it. It made the same sound. So I think there's got to be some sort of connection there with the Iron Man sound and the Stark Industry and the toaster.
Wow, I didn't even pick up on that. Good.
I mean, it was one of those audio cues that.
Bill.
Yeah, I mean, that's all my ears. I was listening and I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. But the second episode starts with them in bed, and then they have that cute little moment where they bring the beds together. It's a totally different title sequence. We get a nice animated one. This one, I think, was a riff off of Bewitched, which is another sitcom from that time. And you have like the little cartoons, and Wanda, she has the snap, whereas Bewitched, Samantha, played by Elizabeth Montgomery, had the nose twitch. I don't know if you've seen Bewitched, but that's something I got from my mom. I didn't know, but Elizabeth Montgomery had the nose twitch, which Wanda has the snap. And I think it's interesting that Wanda has a snap because snaps are not good in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Hold on. I'm sorry. My parents just got home. Let me just tell them that I'm doing this and to be quiet.
Yeah, I will riff. Love it. So, as I said, snaps are not necessarily a good thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thanos snapped away half the galaxy with a snap. But then again, Hulk brought everyone back with a snap, and then Iron Man got rid of Thanos again with a snap. So I guess two snaps have been good, one has been bad. But I think it's interesting that Wanda has a snap. You know, she makes everything happen with a snap. And Thanos needed to get all 5 Infinity Stones or 6 Infinity Stones to be able to get his snap. So I think it just shows that Wanda's a little bit more powerful with a single snap than Thanos is. Or Wanda has a lot more power in her snap ability than Thanos does, because Thanos needs to find all these Infinity Stones to enhance his snap power.
That's
That's why I was
another thing I didn't pick up on. Very good, Jill.
She's just snapping away, and I'm like,
Yeah, you're right.
wow, Thanos. I mean, he needed a long 2.5 hour movie to get a snap that wiped
Get
out
a
half the universe.
single snap, and she's
Right.
just like, lights on, lights off.
Right. I'm not saying Thanos snap is not as powerful. We obviously know it's the most powerful snap
Right.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, it got rid of literally Groot, Black Panther, and Spider-Man. They're three big money makers. You know, the franchise's big money makers. So we know it's a powerful snap, Thanos. So
Right.
don't come at me. So
But we do know that Wanda is for sure one of the strong, if not the strongest Avenger, definitely either number 2 or 3, because she's able, while he has, I just watched this on TikTok like today, while she's, you know, using her powers to destroy the Mind Stone that is Vision, he has 5 out of the 6 Infinity Stones, and she's able to hold him back with
Mhm.
just one hand. She's
Yeah.
using one hand to emotionally destroy herself, and then one hand to keep him at bay. And this guy, he's like no match for her. And we also see them with their little one-on-one fight in Endgame as well. She's, you know, taking him on completely by herself. So we know that she's up there strength-wise. So
I've
I
said from the top.
I do
I've
believe
said
that one of Wanda's snaps is stronger than his ever could be.
I've said from the beginning, she's my second favorite Marvel Avenger. My favorite superheroes of all time, Marvel-wise, it's Hulk, then Spider-Man. But in this specific universe, Wanda, it's Hulk, then Wanda. Those are my two favorites.
Mm.
I just love them as people before the powers, or when they're not using powers, and when they're using powers. I just think the two of them are the most interesting for me to watch. So to see her get her own show itself is just, yeah, it's great. It's great. It's great to see her get her own show. I keep unmuting. Mic issues. Mic issues, but we're gonna fix it all in post production. We'll make it work. I promise you. But
I also just find Elizabeth Olsen like just so charming and charismatic, and you care about, you know, what she's doing. And I think that she's absolutely nailing the acting style of all these different retro TV shows. She's very entertaining. She's
and I
lovely.
think she's very good at transitioning between those. Like I said, there's some horror elements. It's the
Yeah.
moments where she just has that stare and she's like thinking, and I, it's really impressive to see her wave in and out of the comedy, like, oh, we're in a sitcom, and then, oh, shit's happening, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So episode 2. So they're in bed. They make the bed come together as one. Yay, we're moving forward in social life to having one bed. No no longer sleeping in separate beds.
Mhm.
And then we find out that there are two missions. Vision's going to go down to the library and talk to some guys who are with the town. I think they're he's trying to get
He goes up to them and says, "Is this a neighborhood watch meeting?"
neighborhood watch. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And then Wanda is going to try to impress the I guess the Regina George of this town.
Yeah. The housewives that I guess come together and plan things for the PTA, if you will.
So Wanda's trying to become a desperate housewife, basically.
One
She's
of the
trying to
real
fit in.
housewives of Westview. Wanda.
Right. She's
Wanda
desperate.
Maximoff.
She's desperate for that that approval, and for when they eventually have kids. Agnes says, "Yeah, it'll help her in the long run down the line." To get on her good side. And that's also when we meet Tiona Paris's character of Geraldine. She's the one sitting next to her, the toast. I do not want to spoil anything for anyone who has not read IMDb and does not know who this character is, because I didn't, and I went on to do some research, just looking up actors' names, and I spoiled for myself who that is. We will wait till that is revealed in the show, because I don't want to spoil it here, in case people don't know. Do you know?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I know too,
Just,
but
like, reading articles and stuff, yeah.
we will keep it spoiler free because I think it'll be a fun reveal when people realize who that character is.
Yeah.
But got my eyes on her. She also came out of that magic box, which was really cool. Yeah, they're playing a magic show again to impress the town. Vision is handed a piece of Big Red gum, which here's one of my Easter eggs. Big Red was the working title for the show. So when they were filming in Atlanta, a lot of Marvel movies they go under code names, so no one knows what project is being worked on. Because if it was called WandaVision, you'd have a million people with cameras outside trying to take pictures and
Oh, right,
trying
right,
to,
right.
you know, yell over the walls, hey, hey, yeah, try to be their own extra in the movie or show.
Sure.
So Big Red was the working title of the show. So I think it was cool that that was the gum that made all of Vision's insides screw up.
But,
That's my first dad joke of many that you'll hear on Marvelous Movie Mondays. That's for sure.
great. I knew we were gonna get through this without your, great dad
Hey,
joke still.
we're like a half hour in, and that was the first one, so I'm impressed.
Alright, you're right. Pretty well for you.
Yeah.
Pretty
Um, so chews the gum. He shows up at the magic show. He's all messed up. Wanda's already on a bad foot, so she's like, "Oh great, I'm gonna look like a fool in front of this woman who I've already been made a fool in front of." Um, but then everything just starts going right because Vision screws up and uses real magic.
Oh, right. Honestly, I thought that was gonna be the whole bit to begin with, is that they were gonna be like, "Wow, we're gonna have the best act because we're actually 2,
Yeah.
super beings,"
I
but
mean, you don't have to fly, but if you can make people disappear and reappear somewhere else, you can just say, "Oh, it's a secret," and no one will really question it. But I mean,
exactly.
if you're flying, it's like, okay, well, you got to try to mask that somehow.
Yeah, no, yeah. Watching her trying to cover everything up was,
Yeah.
very fun. Fun to say
But I
the
mean,
least.
you could have used actual magic to pull stuff out of your sleeves continuously, and they wouldn't have known it was real magic, you know.
No,
Um,
yeah, totally.
But anyway, so the magic show happens. Everyone is a fan of theirs now. They're the most popular couple in town. Agnes is sitting there talking some shit about Ralph. And then we have them back at home, and Wanda becomes pregnant.
Yeah, just boom, a full, like, at least 5 or 6 months.
Right. Oh, well, before that magic show, is that when the radio happens? I think I skipped over.
Yes, the radio's when they're cleaning up
Okay.
the, PTA meeting with,
Gotcha. I wasn't sure if it was after the magic show or after the PTA meeting. So it's after the PTA, before the magic show. Big part we skipped over. What are your theories about this voice on the radio?
So I looked into this voice on the radio because
I did too.
my first immediate question was, who is this? First of all, and is this and if we know this voice, is this a voice we've heard before? Is this a character we've heard before or seen at least at any time? So I know who's on the radio.
I know who's on the radio too, and this was announced in casting, so I think it's safe to say.
Oh, I had no idea that this person was going to be a part of the show at all.
Then some people might not know either, so you know what? Let's skip over it. But I do think it will be an interesting casting decision because I like this character, but I don't know how this character is going to come in. I don't think this character was a big enough character to really, you know, to be like it's not like a Cap or an Iron Man coming and saving the day. I think it's interesting that we're taking a character that we know a little less of and bringing him or her.
And how he's connected to this story because he is very disconnected from all of this.
Right.
The only connection he has is with, you know, someone else, and it's
Someone
not
else.
WandaVision.
Right. And there's another character that we know just from casting rumors. We do know one other character that's going to come in, but because they haven't come, let's just not even bring them up. Let's just keep them out of this because I don't even know if you know. So it's a lot of do you know this?
I think they were in one of the trailers. So I think I know who you're talking about.
Okay, but we'll keep it as
I
they're
can't
not in this
remember
episode.
Thor.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
One of my favorite characters from Thor. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
I
it'll be interesting when the time comes. We'll get there. But Wanda sees this toy helicopter outside. Remember as well, which is the second bit of color.
Okay, well, first we didn't even talk about the end of the episode.
Well, we're getting there. Is the toy helicopter
Okay,
at the
well,
end?
the helicopter's way at the beginning. I thought we were going to
Oh.
talk about Easter eggs after the recap
Yeah.
because
So let's finish the recap. Finish the recap.
the most
because-
crucial scene I think in the whole second episode is when they're out on the street and a beekeeper emerges from the sewer
with the sword
thing-
logo.
logo on the back of his shirt.
Yes.
And, again, one of those moments, she's I think she audibly says no, or like, no, this isn't happening, or something like along those lines, rewinds the tape, boom,
Scratch that, reverse
they're
it.
back to celebrating their
Right.
newfound pregnancy.
Right.
And they go from there.
Right. I thought for some reason the helicopter was somewhere outside when they went outside for the beekeeper, but I guess it's earlier when they go outside that she sees that when
Yeah.
she's talking to Agnes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But that's the second bit of color we see. And then, of course, after that, everything turns into color.
Yes.
So we're no longer in this black and white universe, which I'll say first and foremost, I really liked the black and white aesthetic. I liked the
Mhm.
sitcominess of it, but I do think if they had kept going along that route, it would have gotten a little monotonous. So I'm
Well,
glad.
I think with each advancement in the TV eras, I think that eventually we were going to get color the same way that color eventually came about in real life.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
now they're getting more to a 60s, 70s vibe, which is, I think, when color TV was definitely around.
Yeah.
Um, so I knew we were eventually going to get color, but I was definitely vibing with the black and white
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Yeah, it'll be cool to just see what the actors were able to bring. Because again, like Vision was not a funny character, and this is a completely different Vision. And I
Mhm.
really like this Vision. I think this is the most entertaining Vision has been. And I loved seeing him in that campiness. So I'm interested to see what he'll bring to like this new color era of television.
Right.
And then I'm assuming it'll flow into why all of this is happening in the first place, which is going to get a lot darker because as we know, this leads into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So we know that that is a horror film directed by Sam Raimi, who directed the original three Spider-Man films. Um,
Mhm.
so we know it's going to be dark. It's going to be a little edgier. They're saying it's a horror movie, so I assume that this will keep going into that horror stuff we've seen with the choking scene, and then again with the beekeeper. It's not complete scare you out of your seat horror, but it is enough to get you a little unsettled, a
Yeah.
little unsure, freaked out. It's freaky, not horror, but it's
Definitely,
freaky.
suspenseful.
Hmm. Yeah. So now that we've kind of recapped that, so now everything's great. She's preggers. She's happy. I guess he's
Mhm.
happy. He has the job. He does not have the gum in his cogs anymore, in
Yeah.
his wheels, whatever you want to call those. Um, I also liked how they did that little animation of the gum going in there. It felt very appropriate for that time period.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah. So first off, let's dive into what we think, where we think this is going, what we're expecting for the next few episodes. I know critics have gotten the third episode, we haven't, so we will watch the third episode for next episode of this show. But Kelsey, what are your ideas of where this series is going to go? Thoughts on the ending? Thoughts on the future? What do you think?
Well, I basically just expect right off the bat is we're just going to keep, I feel like I said in the beginning, we're just going to keep getting these little breadcrumbs, these little hints about, what is going on and where are they and who's controlling it, if it's Wanda, if it's someone else, with these scenes of, we got the first taste of it at the dinner scene with the boss choking. Then the radio stuff happened. And then on top of the radio stuff in the second episode, then we got a full blown new character who was either on his way to completely shut down the simulation, wreak havoc in the simulation. We didn't know if he was like an enemy, a friend to Wanda and Vision, but we got that immediately taken away from us when Wanda said, "No, rewind. We're not doing this. This is not why we're here," type of
Mhm.
thing. And I don't know. I'm just super curious as to what pieces. I just feel like they're giving us pieces to the puzzle right now, and I don't even have the box. I don't even know
Yeah.
what the image looks like. I don't know what I'm putting together right now. That's
Mm, And
how I feel.
And I have to be honest, I really like that. I think it really
Yeah.
helps because I think the problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think it's a great source of entertainment, and I think there are some good quality films in it, but it does seem a little predictable to the sense where we know we're coming with a big blockbuster. We know we're going to get some great action. There's going to be some funny one liners here and there. We know kind of what we're going to expect from each movie. But here it feels like we have no idea what to expect. I think it is because it's episodic. You have that element of suspense and cliffhangers that you really don't get a ton of in the cinematic universe. You get a little bit with the post-credit scene, but it's like as if each episode is its own post-credit scene teasing the next one and you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
I just think it's so interesting, and just the style itself is so different, but just the tone and the way of storytelling, they are able to take more time because this is 9 episodes. This isn't 2.5, 3 hours. You have a lot more time to really develop the story, develop the side characters, develop the main characters, and really just give it time. And I really like just being able to have time with this and really settle with it and live in the moment rather than trying to keep up with it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the movies are definitely there's a pattern to them. They're very formulaic where, we're set up. I feel like every movie opens with some sort of action scene that later on develops the final battle at the end. Someone's getting betrayed in Act Three, and then, or Act Two rather, and then Act Three is all about avenging or getting revenge on, whatever the big conflict revealed to be in Act Two. So this is definitely like a breath of fresh air when it comes to style, acting choices, and just overall arc and storyline. It's like they're really like leaving us in the dark right now, but I'm excited to not only have all the pieces together and then go back and watch. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's why
Yeah,
that was there. Okay, that's why that interaction happened. It's gonna
yeah.
feel like um I just putting the pieces all together.
For sure. It'd be like if Endgame, if you watched half a movie and you saw Thanos die and then Thor walk away, and that was the end of the movie, you're wondering, "Whoa, what happened?" It's kind of what they did with Infinity War, the snap, and then you just have to wait. And I think
Mhm.
that's what I really like about these episodes is like every 30 minutes there's a moment where it's like, "Wait, what's happening? What's next?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So let's get into some Easter eggs. Now that we've kind of covered just what went on, we've said a few Easter eggs here and there, and
Well,
we've
I
kind
would
of
love to know, Dill, if you have any theories about maybe the next episode or just
right.
the series in general, because
I
I'm
mean,
really at a loss here.
I think we're gonna get to all the what's happening behind the scenes, like the people who are watching the TV, a lot sooner than you think. I think you think it's gonna keep up with the same formula of, oh, here's our sitcom, and then at the end, oh, something else is slipping in. I think maybe we get one or two more episodes of the sitcom stuff before it's full fledged. Like, oh, here's what's going on. I do think they, um, I do think they have intentions to really make it more action packed soon because I think the one difference with this show than I think we'll get with Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki is that this action is not going to happen from the very top. We're not going to get full
Mhm,
fledged fight scenes, but
mhm.
Marvel. We know there's got to be a fight scene soon, and I think by episode 4 or 5, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more action, a lot more of this horror suspense, more than the sitcom stuff. But I do think for this, whoops. Oh, but I do think for this next episode, I think we are going to stay a little bit with the sitcom. But I think by the end of the next episode, we should be fully moved on from that, from the campiness. But I could be wrong, you know.
No, yeah, I love it.
Okay, let's talk about Easter eggs. So
Okay.
first off, the two commercials. We have the toaster, like I said, makes the same sound as Iron Man's suit, and then we
Mhm.
have the toy helicopter, which has the Iron Man colors. Anything on the helicopter that you think means anything?
Yes. So, I looked into the helicopter, and the first thing that I noticed about it was the 57,
Oh,
and
again, numbers. You're the
the
number girl.
number 57. I'll be the number girl. I got it. Um, So the number 57 is a nod to Avengers Volume 157, a comic book called Behind the Vision that features Hank Pym, Jeanette Van Dyne, T'Challa, and Hawkeye.
Oh,
Just
cool.
thought I don't know if that's like a nod to what happens in that comic or just like oh, this is a comic about Vision, but I don't know if later on it might delve further into, what happens in that comic or anything. So
Mhm.
I just thought that I would include that. And
Nice.
the helicopter also had the circle and the sword symbol
All
on it.
right. So sword is a big deal. I think this is going to be the introduction of sword because I think sword will have a lot to play with Captain Marvel 2 and maybe Guardians 3 and the Eternals. I think Eternals is a space based movie. So
Right.
I think sword is going to be a big deal just like Shield was, just like Hydra was. Speaking of Hydra, the second commercial is the watch.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
have the watch and it has the Hydra. It says Hydra. It says Hydra and yeah, we see the watch. There's a little symbol. Go ahead with how talk about it.
Um, well, did you notice and did you recognize the name Strucker?
Strucker, yeah, that was it Winter Soldier we saw Strucker?
Well, it could have
Oh,
also been Winter Soldier, but it was also but he was
Age of Ultron.
in, Age of Ultron as
Yes,
well,
because he's
which
the
I
one.
only realized because I went back and watched Age of Ultron. Like, at first, I was like, "Strucker, whatever, like, who cares?" And, obviously, I saw the Hydra and then the octopus symbol on it, but then, you find what I found watching Age of Ultron was that Strucker was actually the guy who did the experiments on Wanda and her brother, Petro, AKA
Interesting.
Quicksilver.
Yeah.
So
Do we think Quicksilver's coming back? Do we think we will see him in this series
in
at
this
all?
universe, I mean, if this is a universe built around by Wanda and around this idea that, she's just kind of put herself in the simulation to cope with loss and I think it's possible. I think it's totally
I think so
possible
too.
that she'd bring her brother into all of this.
Because
Um,
we've been hearing from so many people over the years, like bring Quicksilver back. I mean, you bring back
mhm,
Vision for this. He's been dead. You bring him back. Loki, he's coming back. Thanos, he dies. He comes back. Gamora, she's back. Black Widow. We're getting a Black Widow.
yeah.
5 people who have died are back. So I really think you could expect to see Quicksilver here. I think whether or not Aaron Taylor Johnson wanted to come back, I don't know. But also, you now have X Men. Disney has
Well,
X
I
Men.
don't know who's turning down a contract from Marvel,
I mean,
so
hey, we got 2 Hulks and 2 War Machines, so people have turned it down before.
that's
Um,
very fair.
but yeah, it's interesting because I think, with the X-Men, with Disney having X-Men now
Yeah.
in their canon, they can now afford to bring a lot more of the mutants in, and because we know Wanda and, Quicksilver are, mutants first.
Mhm.
They have the mutant abilities, so,
Well,
it'll be interesting.
just like logistically, I'm thinking about isn't Quicksilver in those X-Men films? Like, isn't he a part of the
He
team
Yes, there is
there?
a version of Quicksilver, in the X-Men, but it's not the same Quicksilver as this one.
Oh,
But as we know with rumors with Spider-Man 3, which we'll get to eventually down the line on the show, um, we're gonna
don't
see a lot of
get me
mixing and
started.
intermingling between all these different franchises. Deadpool 3 was confirmed. It will be rated R. We're gonna get some Fantastic Four. Like Blade, all these properties that we thought were never gonna be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are coming. So
Mhm.
uh, it'll definitely be interesting. But let's keep going with some Easter eggs.
Okay.
Um, okay, so the wine bottle. The wine bottle. I paused this in slow mo just to see what it said.
Mhm.
Just because whenever there's text on the screen, I gotta read it.
Yeah.
It said "Maison de mépris." Yeah, that's my best French accent.
Lovely.
MEPRI, mépris or mépris. House of It means house of contempt. But if we keep the mépris, it means house of mépris. House of M is a storyline within the comics, and it is a storyline about Wanda losing her mind, losing control of her powers, and transforming reality. So, I think that
I
could have
think
a
we
lot.
cracked it. I
I,
think we cracked the code.
I mean, I think that has a lot to do. I don't know if it's going to follow the House of M storyline completely, but we have seen a storyline in the comics where Wanda has lost control of her powers and has transformed reality. So I think transforming reality is exactly what this show is doing in the first place. It could just be a comment on that, or it could follow that storyline. I'm not sure.
Wow.
I'm telling you, these Easter eggs are, yeah. At surface level, you're like, oh, it's a wine bottle, but then you read
Yeah.
in, you're like, oh, this is the explanation for the series. It's on the wine bottle. But
No, yeah, literally.
Abe Brown. So at the end of the first episode, we see the credits roll, and we see someone from Sword watching the broadcast. But the
Uh-huh.
director on the screen is Abe Brown. Abe Brown is not the director of the actual series WandaVision,
Mhm.
but the director of the series within a series. So the black and white series. Someone from Sword. Whoops. Audio. Someone from Sword is watching. That that product is directed by Abe Brown. Directed by Abe Brown. Abe Brown is part of a trio in a Marvel sister comic. So Marvel has a bunch of other brother and sister properties that aren't directly Marvel but are partnered with Marvel that Marvel has the rights to. There's something called the Sons of the Tiger, and that is Abe Brown, Iron Fist, Misty Knight, Colleen Wing, and Shang-Chi. As we know, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, I think the name is, um, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings is coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the end of
Wait,
the
Jill,
year.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No.
All right, I'm gonna riff.
Okay.
You riff.
He's the guy who's getting his own movie, right? Well, we can't hear you, but um that's really interesting that you picked up on those. But also, at some point in the episode, we see a newspaper that says something about Baby June, and immediately my musical theater brain went to Gypsy. But
Yeah.
apparently, yeah,
Good.
um, I forget what it was. I forgot to write it down, but apparently there's a newspaper that Vision's holding where it says the name Baby June, and it's like a nod to something else. I should probably have written that down before I mentioned it.
Talking about Gypsy.
Yeah, because I thought that it was just like I don't think it's a nod to Gypsy, but I hear the name Baby June. That's the first place my mind went. But it's a nod to something else that happens probably in the comics. But um, you were saying about Shang-Chi?
Yeah, so Abe Brown is part of the Sons of the Tiger, which Shang-Chi is also part of. So we might see it uh, connect to Shang-Chi in some way, or this is just an Easter egg of them just wanting to throw in everything and the kitchen sink into this episode. So,
Right, right, right. I was gonna go through all of those names on the credit scene that was on the black and white TV, but I was like, eh.
like I said, whenever I see words, I read them and I
Yeah.
dissect them just like you do with the numbers.
You'll
So,
be the words guy, I'll be the numbers girl.
perfect. And everything else, forget it. So Bova milk. In the animated intro of the second episode, you see Bova milk in the back of the supermarket. It's behind her head.
Mhm.
Bova was the name of the midwife that helped deliver Wanda in the comics. So that was just a nice homage. Bova milk, milk, mother. Uh,
Oh, fun.
yeah.
There's
And then
also Auntie A's milk. Or
okay,
no, you just said milk. Auntie A's is on something else in the grocery store in the credits, and that might be a nod to Catherine Hahn's character, Agnes, who is referred to in the comics as Auntie Agnes or Auntie A.
there you go. So Agnes is a comic book character then. Uh,
Yes.
okay,
Well, that's what people think because her name's Agnes, but I think she's introduced herself as Agnes, but I think the comic book character people are relating to with her is I think her full name might be Agatha. So I think
okay,
people are,
yeah,
just making a very loose connection there.
right. Um, the baby bump is there is an '80s comic of Wanda where she gives magical birth to twins. As we know, I don't think her and Vision can conceive a child. So
Well, that's
um,
that's funny that you say that because I literally have a note here that says, "I'd hate to get this deep with it, but can Vision procreate?
I don't think he can
He can't
procreate
eat
in the
food."
same way. I mean, he could probably build like a little dog like Jimmy Neutron and call it his child,
Well,
a robot
Goddard,
child.
you think they're gonna have 2 little Goddards?
Maybe you never know.
I think it's twins that they're having, or at least in the comics, they have twins. I don't know if they're having twins in the show.
I think it'd be cute to have twins. Her sisters are twins, Mary Kate and Ashley. So
Very fair. Yeah,
this could
little nod to Mary Kate and Ashley.
maybe the next episode we're gonna see Danny Tanner. Maybe the next episode we're gonna see Danny Tanner walk in with Joey and Uncle Jesse. Who knows? Um,
Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny if like their 90s sitcom style, like they get all the way to the 90s and it's like very like Full House-esque. Oh, that'd be so funny.
that'd be crazy. Okay, and then the last Easter egg I wrote down that I noticed was just that the Mind Stone is the shape on the box that they do the magic trick in.
Yes, another thing that was pointed out to me by the internet and not something I saw at first.
Well, everything I found, yeah, like it's a combination of like I saw it, but then I looked further into it. Like the wine bottle, I didn't know all that off the top of my mind, but I saw it, then researched it, and was like, oh, Maison de Mépris, House of Contempt, House of M could
Mhm.
be a connection. I think there's a lot of smart stuff in this show. And one thing we didn't talk about was the actual visuals themselves. There's a lot of CGI going on, but I think it's a lot more subtle here. I
Mhm.
think the floating plates and the floating meals and just the the snap of the finger changing the appearance and the clothes. That's a lot of great design work and effects work that I think is going to be a little unnoticed because you're not used to the whole Avengers. Everything's, there's so much going on the screen. It's like, oh, visual effects. It's like, no, it's like visual effects.
Right. And I think that it's what's great about this style of show that they're doing, especially now that we know it was filmed in front of a live studio audience, is that I don't think most of the effects are going to be CGI. Like how they said in the same interview that they revealed that it was a live studio audience, they said that these engineers who have been working, tirelessly in front of screens are now figuring out ways how to puppeteer, floating plates and
Right.
the recipe cards that she was looking at. It's like I don't think those things were CGI at all. I think they're obviously editing out the strings
Hmm.
that they're attached to, but I think that they're trying to make it as live and in person as possible because they're having an audience.
Yeah, and I like that because we're so used to the computerized effects that
Yeah,
um
for sure.
that it's nice to go back and be like, no, like we can still do practical effects because I think we saw that a lot with Star Wars. Is they're going back to a lot of the practical effects. Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, is all puppetry, and there are
Mhm.
some CGI moments like when he's walking, but he's mostly just a puppet when he's being held. So I think we're kind of seeing that kind of transition back to practical effects, which is really interesting. That I hope we get to see because I'm assuming these shows are tinier budgets. I mean, not small budgets, but smaller budgets.
Then
So I
yeah.
so I think it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do with those small budgets and really transforming the visual scope of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right. So I also just want to say that one character that I looked into who I was immediately intrigued by, her story and her role in all of this because um was Dottie because I feel
Hmm.
like she's the first character that we've seen out of the first two episodes that really seems like she might be an antagonist, she
Right.
might seem like maybe not in the grand scheme of things that she one episode all of a sudden is revealed to have magical
Right.
powers and is
She's
after Wanda or anything, but definitely
she's
seems
not Thanos. Yeah.
someone, no, definitely not a Thanos level threat, but definitely someone who is going to, prevent Wanda from, living her life to the fullest in this
Hmm.
sort of reality that she's made. So I looked into Dottie to see if there was a Dottie in the comic somewhere. And I found that there is a Dottie character from
Oh.
Agent Carter.
Okay.
Um, Dottie Underwood. She was a Soviet agent trained in the Red Room, same place that where Black Widow originated,
Hmm.
as we know. And I found this interesting because, as we've seen with the first episode with the toaster, and then much more in the second episode, was the first color that was being revealed to us was red. So I
Hmm.
was wondering if that these things were at all connected, maybe is it just red because Wanda is, known for wearing the red corset jacket outfit?
Right.
Is it just because Vision is primarily red, or is this somehow all connected? But I
Yeah.
definitely, I was like, I need to look into this girl because she
That
seems, and she was, she cut her hand. We saw the bleeding, and she was there for the radio, and she also it seemed as if she heard it. She wasn't just stuck in the trance like Deborah Joe was, who was
definitely.
just staring at Wanda. She was broken out of character as well, listening to the radio. And I think she also might have said, like, who was that?
Hmm.
And she before that, she saying like, "I've heard a lot about you." And we don't know if it's, "Oh, I've heard that you're a magical being with powers and that your husband's a robot," or if it's just like, "Oh, I've heard that you're that funny neighbor down the street who
Right.
makes bad scones," Like
Hmm.
we don't know what level they were talking about here, but all Wanda had to say was, "I'm not a threat to you or a danger to you," or
Hmm.
something like that. So, I don't know if this is going to lead to something more, but I definitely wanted to share my research on Dottie.
Definitely. Dottie is definitely an interesting character. I think it's because we know so little about her and she wasn't really rumored as a character as much as some of the other ones that we really don't know much. But I think she'll be someone to keep an eye on. So that's WandaVision episodes 1 and 2. We did it. We covered
We did it.
in just about an hour. We covered all of that. I think it's going to be interesting to see where the series goes. We have 7 more episodes, so it's 9 episodes. Kevin Feige did say that all these series are going to be. Ooh, Kevin Feige did say that all these series are going to be different lengths, episode lengths and show run lengths. So we might see one with 6 episodes, we might see one with 10 episodes, some might be an hour long episodes, all that. Um, but I'm very interested to see how this one goes. Just teasing what's to come on this show, Marvelous Movie Mondays. Keep cutting out. I keep cutting out. There we go. Happening on Marvelous Movie Mondays, we will. Did I say that right? Marvelous Movie Mondays. We will be talking about WandaVision for the next 7 weeks. At the end, maybe just us, maybe some guests, who knows. And then we will be diving right into all the other shows and movies that are coming out this year. Hopefully, Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Loki, Miss Marvel. When we get there, we'll get to She-Hulk, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So much stuff is coming to Disney Plus and to theaters, hopefully, if it's safe to go back. And we will cover it all here. We will also be diving into some other topics if there are off weeks where we don't have anything new to talk about. We will talk about old stuff. We will rank villains. We can rank movies. We can talk about movies that are outside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'd love to talk about the Spider-Man films because we know that me and Kelsey might be a little divisive on those. If you watch her YouTube channel, you might see a Spider-Man video there real soon, or it might have already happened by the time you're listening to this. But yeah,
it's going to be out tomorrow, which is Sunday, so the day before
yesterday.
Out. So yesterday.
Yesterday.
Go watch the video that I made about who I think the best Spider-Man is down below.
And we very well know after watching it, because we've already watched it, because it's Monday, not Saturday, when we're recording this, that we disagree very much on that. But that's okay. And that's the beauty of Marvel, is we all have favorites. Your favorite movie is Guardians of the Galaxy. Mine is Endgame, because Endgame just has everything I want in it. It was bloated, but it was bloated with a lot of beautiful stuff. I do think it'll be interesting to talk about some of the other non-Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. As I said, Spider-Man. We'll talk about X-Men when we get there. We could revisit some bad stuff like the Fantastic Four movies. The Daredevil movie. Like a lot of bad stuff. Howard the Duck. Yeah. So your face when I said Howard the Duck. Yeah. So we'll dive into all of it. This is going to be a show happening every Monday until either we get tired of it or Thanos snaps one of us away. It will keep going.
You think we're gonna get snapped? Oh my god!
No,
I hope it's you.
Okay, what?
I said I hope you get snapped.
Okay. Yeah, I will. I'd rather the audience cheer for me walking out of one of those portals than they cheer for you anyway. So.
Well, I was trying to be nice and say so you don't have to live 5 years without me. But fine, you can make it like that.
You know what, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
I'll cry right now. That's not funny.
We'll be here every Monday talking about something Marvel related, and maybe not even Marvel related at all. Maybe we'll just talk about another Tom Holland movie like Cherry when that comes out, because it's a Marvel actor. It's the Russo brothers. We might as well talk about that. We'll talk about maybe some of Taika Waititi's stuff, some of Chloe Zhao's stuff, because they both have movies coming out this year. Nomadland for Chloe Zhao, and Taika has Next Goal Wins or something like that is the movie. I forget what the name of it's called, but a lot of these Marvel directors do other stuff that would be cool to talk about, just to see how their work compares outside of the Marvel universe and seeing how their work stands, when not in this big franchise. Anyway, Kelsey, where can they find you? A social plug yourself.
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick, or you can go to my YouTube channel, Cause Productions, and subscribe. Lots of good stuff on there. Some Marvel-based content, most of it not. So,
yeah. We did a little short film back in October for Halloween. You can check that out on there too. I'll even try to put. I don't know if I can promote my other people's stuff on this channel. If I can share your videos, you know what? We'll put it in the bio. We won't put it on the top. We'll put it in the bio. We'll put that video in the bio. And there's also a blooper reel we'll put in the bio as well. You can find me at Dylan_Randazzo on Twitter. You can find me Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. If you just type Dylan Randazzo, you'll find me. I'm the one. I might have short hair in the picture, but I have long hair now. I might get a haircut. Who knows? And of course at the Dill Pickle Movie Network. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. Like, subscribe, do all that jazz. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere where you can listen to podcasts, thank you for listening, and check us out on YouTube, or send people from YouTube here to podcasts and download the podcast, take it with you in the car, take it with you on a run, take it with you on the treadmill, take it with you on the elliptical, take it wherever you want. We'll be talking Marvel for your ears, and my audio cut out one last time. We're still figuring out the technical technical aspect, but thank you
Listen,
for
we can only go up from here.
yeah.
So
We can only go up from here.
if you thought this was good, just wait until we get into later episodes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
And we'll see you next week.